Guilds of Ravnica. With the entire set spoiled and us now days away from its inevitable release, there is one question on every Magic the Gathering player's mind. Which cards will see play? Which cards will have impact? Which cards are the best for the modern format, one of the best formats of Magic the Gathering? Now, everyone has an opinion on this and everyone is writing their articles, but you have come here to Tolarian Community College for the Tolarian Tech. This special secret reveal is the card from Guilds of Ravnica most likely to make an impact that no one is talking about. This card is powerful, it is immense, and you will only hear about it here at Tolarian Community College. And that card is, of course, the Assassin's Trophy. This card, it amazes me that no one has noticed it. No one anywhere what? Everyone everywhere is talking about Assassin's Trophy from the minute it was revealed. We don't care about that because we would like to discuss things other than Assassin's Trophy. And so presented here are the top 5 cards from Guilds of Ravnica besides Assassin's Trophy most likely to see play in the modern format. Before I begin this list, I have an honorable mention. Now, normally when I have an honorable mention, it is for a card that, though I like it, though I'm interested in it, though it excites me, I feel just isn't quite there to make a difference or make an impact in Modern, but I want to talk about it anyway. Not so this time. My honorable mention is actually for a card that may be more likely to see play than the 5 on my list. It's actually in that same category as Assassin's Trophy, and that bores me. I don't want to talk about this obvious modern staple card that we've just been given in Guilds of Ravnica, so I want to get it out of the way with the honorable mention. I've got more interesting cards to discuss afterwards, but let's take just a quick moment to mention honorably Unmoored Ego. Unmoored Ego is a sorcery for 1 and a blue and a black. Choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name and exile them. That player shuffles their library, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. In other words, Wizards of the Coast is saying to the modern format, with this card and with Assassin's Trophy, Tron will die. You know what you did, Tron. Anyway, as is obvious, this is amazing Tron hate. But unlike many attempts to stop the unstoppable juggernaut that is Tron, Unmoored Ego actually has other uses. First off, this can hit basic lands. I can't believe it. I thought I read it wrong when I first saw, but this hits basics, which in Modern are in many cases run few and far between. So much so that naming an island in a deck that's only going to have a few islands in it, or a swamp, can hurt bad. Not to mention this is flexible for just about any key piece. Name Valakut, name Scapeshift. It gets all 4 from the deck, from the hand. My goodness, Living End is dead. That'll teach you to be egotistical. No, wait, are we the ones with the ego? Either way, this card is bananas in the modern format. But now I'd like to start our list of cards that maybe you haven't heard about in terms of their potential impact on Modern. And this next one is indeed a secret. It's the reprint we almost got, but might even be better. Why, it's Mausoleum Secrets, of course. Mausoleum Secrets is an instant for 1 and a black with Undergrowth. Search your library for a black card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Wow, I think this card is one of those attempts at fixing a busted, not safe for standard or modern card, but where they thankfully did not water it down enough. The obvious comparison is to the classic Demonic Tutor, where for 1 and a black, You have a sorcery to just go get whatever you want from your library and put it into your hand. Now here, the drawback is you need creatures in your graveyard equal to the converted mana cost of the spell you tutor for. But this is modern, with most spells being 1 to 3 mana. That's not too steep a slope to climb. Still, perhaps the real comparison is to the card I really wanted reprinted from original Ravnica block, Infernal Tutor. Infernal could tutor for a duplicate of a card you already had in hand, or search for any card if you were hell-bent. Is Mausoleum Secrets as good as, or even better than Infernal Tutor? That's the real question. Nonetheless, I think this is much better than the few existing modern legal black tutors that we currently have access to, which is really just Diabolic Tutor and the Infernal. Infernally limited, but maybe not so more now that we have access to what the Mausoleum has in store. Now, next up at number 4 is a card that a lot of people might have initially said no to or null to, but actually I think is going to not only make a certain modern deck triumphant, but a certain budget modern deck hit the top. And that card, of course, is Nullhide Ferox. Nullhide Ferox is a 6/6 for 2 and 2 green with hexproof that reads, you cannot cast non-creature spells. For 2 mana, Nullhide Ferox loses all abilities until end of turn. Any player may activate this ability. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard Nullhide Ferox, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. Let's be clear, the goal is not to hardcast it here. With the inevitable return of Jund thanks to Assassin's Trophy, comes with it the inevitable lockdown from Liliana of the Veil. Possibly the best planeswalker in all of Modern, Liliana can put us into a fast lock with her combination of discard and creature sacrifice effects. Nullhide Ferox dodges the discard with a plum. During opponent's first turn with Liliana, if they tick her up by making us discard, Nullhide goes right into play. As a 6/6 hexproof, decks like Mono Green Stompy can spend 2 to slap a Rancor on this to swing in with a big bad as early as turn 3, or even without the Rancor and Trample, it's still a 6/6 early game if our opponent tried to out-parity us with Liliana. But what if our opponent activates that ability? Well, they're going to sink some mana into it, and that mana sink of our opponents to try and remove it can easily be answered by us in Mono Green Stompy with a spell like Blossoming Defense. Or we can just gain advantage through their lack of lockdown and sunken mana to allow us to keep stomping them out. Either way, I think this is a big, bold green creature that is going to be an all-star in what was still one of the more affordable modern decks to build. Oh, excuse me. I just felt before we got to number 3 on our cards from Guilds of Ravnica, most likely to see play in Modern, that I'd be a little bit is it myself and clear the air. This here is my homemade Ionizer, and that is perfect for item 3 on our list, which is, of course, Ionize. Ionize is an instant for 1 and blue and a red that counters target's spell. Ionize deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. Counter magic, after all, is a simple process of breaking matter into its elementary particles. Now that's some weird science. Reminiscent of Undermine, Ionize joins a bevy of 3 mana counter spells with upsides that are pretty much a go-to design these days. Everything from the uptick of Scry to Surveil. While Undermine does a full lightning bolt's worth of damage, sorry, loss of life, there's a few key advantages to Ionize, namely that, unlike Undermine, Ionize is actually Modern legal. Undermine is one of those cards I've always thought would be really deadly in Modern, especially in blue where it could be teamed up with Snapcaster Mage. But Ionize comes close and, unlike most 3 CMC counter spells, only requires 1 blue instead of a double blue to cast. Since Izzet and Grixis colors are the decks that'll look to run this, the split from double blue to 1 and a red and 1 blue might be well worth shocking instead of bolting your opponent. Alright, we're getting into the final 2 here, and as usual, they're very interchangeable, meaning, for many of you watching, you might feel that this next card really should have been given the top slot, or vice versa. Nonetheless, I think these are the 2 most likely cards from Guilds of Ravnica to see play in Modern, and the next one is perfect for our fall set, because it is, of course, a Knight of Autumn. Knight of Autumn is a Dryad Knight for 1 and a green and a white. A 2/1 creature that reads, when Knight of Autumn enters the battlefield, choose 1. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Knight of Autumn, or destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you gain 4 life. It slices, it dices, it destroys artifacts and buffs itself up. It even gains you life. Order now. Bye-bye Reclamation Sage. Say hello to Knight of Autumn. A modal creature with 3 options that is going to solidify collected company decks and Abzan mid-range variants in Modern's top 8. Which is why I've put it near the top of this top, well, 5. This is one of those cases where we begin by looking at how Reclamation Sage is already seeing play in Modern. It's pretty much a sideboard staple that many collected company lists even run a few of main. But Knight of Autumn does so much more. If it self-buffs, giving itself a 4/3 body that you can have come in, you're ahead of curve. But there's more modes as well, and the flexibility here lets you shave away not just Reclamation Sage, but Lone Missionary as well. So now we're swapping out 2 cards that are run for just 1, freeing up sideboard room for more answers and making these lists more versatile. I really think this isn't going to end up in sideboards so much as main boards. With so many homes, this is going to be a long night. For Knight of Autumn anyway. But what card have I placed as the number 1 from Guilds of Ravnica besides Assassin's Trophy, which of course is number 1? Yeah. Besides that, which card is going to impact this format, is going to stick, have relevance, and see play? I'm getting it now. It's our Mission Briefing. Mission Briefing is an instant for double blue with Surveil 2, which means, of course, to look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest on top of your library in any order. Then choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Come on, you know what this card is, right? You know what this card is reminding everyone of, right? It's Snapcaster Mage. They reprinted Snapcaster Mage, sort of. Before you start arguing about whether or not it's actually better than, the same as Snapcaster Mage, let's take a look together. Admittedly, there's more than a few differences, but I think the key difference among them all is between whether or not you want from Snapcaster Mage that body on the ground, which obviously Snapcaster provides, versus the Surveil 2. But the real advantage to Mission Briefing over Snappy is that Mission Briefing does not target the spell in your graveyard, whereas Snapcaster does. That means spells such as Scavenging Ooze will have to respond before the spell even resolves, while you just sit back, relax, and make your pick after the Surveil. However, in all the debate I see, I don't get how this is an either-or situation. Sure, there's creatureless decks or creature-light decks that might not care for the loss of Snappy's body, but since the similarities to Snapcaster are so close, I'd be asking instead what decks might want to run a 5th or 6th Snapcaster, or in this case a surrogate Snapcaster in the form of Mission Briefing. Or perhaps would we want to mix between 2 to 3 of each Snapcaster and Mission Briefing in order to get the benefit of both worlds? We know how powerful Snapcaster is, and we know how close to Snapcaster this card is, and we see some ways in which this card might even have an advantage. So my money is firmly on it being a part of Modern, not to mention all the other formats Snapcaster is legal in for a long, long time. But now I want to hear from you. Are there any cards from Guilds of Ravnica that you think should have made my list? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, with pre-release right around the corner, take a look at my brand new Tolarian tutor on building better limited mana bases, so you can go in prepared to win. And be sure to check out my new comedy skit, Demir Witted, to see whether or not you have what it takes to join the Demir Guild. And this video is brought to you by my and many other people's local game store, Card Kingdom, a brick-and-mortar pillar of this community, as well as the Patreon support of viewers such as you. These are the people that keep Tolarian Community College going and growing strong. So thank you. Secret modern cards of Guilds of Ravnica. So before we do, let us give an honorable mention to... I forgot the card.